Well, hello! Mwah, mwah, mwah. Welcome to the Magical Mystery School. And thank you so much for coming back. And today we're going to do Symbols of the Tarot, Class 21. And we're going to be talking about Key 20, the Judgment card. Now, this is a pretty intense looking card. And sometimes it's called the Last Judgment. And those of us brought up in the Christian tradition, that can kind of connote some pretty scary things too. But also remember too, all of these keys, there's many different levels of how to interpret them and how they express themselves. So don't get too hung up on anything like that. Okay, so I think the first thing I'm going to do is look at the tarot tableau. And we'll look at, we're at the sixth level here of unfoldment. And you can see we started up here with the Lovers, and the Lovers is the self-consciousness is just glancing over at the subconsciousness. So they are starting to become aware of it. This could even be like remembering dreams or really feeling like you're going somewhere in your dreams, that kind of thing. So at least there's a little bit of recognition going on there. Now, when we come down here to the Death card, remember death can mean a physical death, but primarily we're talking about it in terms of, a part of your personality is dying, or some bad habits or something like that. Now, this particular character, he's been stripped down to his skeleton, to his bare essence, right? He's lopped off the head of the king and the queen here and just become his very, like I said, basic essence here. And now with the Judgment card, we're actually rebirthing. This is the real rebirthing here, that we're starting a whole new relationship with life, basically. Okay, so when we look at this key, even though it has some kind of scary connotations to it, it is also has quite a big, strong feeling of celebration. We're free. We're jumping out of these coffins, and that's got to feel pretty good, right? And personal consciousness is developing into something new and different. Now, and there is that sense of just starting a whole new life. Now, the Judgment part is, yes, we do need to make some judgments. We do need to, we may have some regrets in the past. We may have to do some forgiveness towards others as well as ourselves. We got to forgive ourselves too. And now we are starting to get to that place. Instead of living life centered or based on fear, now we're starting to think about, I'm going to base my life on joy and, just having, enjoying this beautiful planet and not getting so hung up on the old, on the past, and that kind of thing. So this key also represents a sense of inevitability, because we all go through this. Now, admittedly, some people are going to have to wait until their physical body does go away before they can make that leap to the next level or dimension or whatever. But we are getting in touch with this idea of the primal will to good. And it is going to happen to all of us, no matter what, in one way or the other, and in different ways. Maybe a little piece here and a little piece there as we go through life. And this key is also referring to immortality too. And if you're watching this video, you are probably on board with the idea that there is life after death, and that we may not know or understand what all the qualities of that life are, but we do understand that this isn't the final, this isn't it, what we're experiencing here on this 3D plane. Okay, so we do have this sense of just being totally refreshed and making these new decisions. What do I want to toss out of my life? What do I want to hang on to my life? the archangel Gabriel is blowing his horn and saying, wake up, time to find your destiny, time to fulfill your purpose in life. And, as when we started this fool's journey, we were full of optimism and confidence, and through all these 20 plus cards that we've been through to get here, we've come up with some doubts and maybe some hesitations in life, and not too sure exactly what's going on. But now that we're going through this rebirth situation, we do feel a new confidence, a new zest for life going forward. And escaping these coffins, the coffins here that the figures are standing up in, they are representing the 3D existence that we're living in right now. And it's got length, width, and depth, just like three-dimensional planes do. But the three figures are standing up in their coffins, so they're representing that fourth dimension or time, because it is at right angles or 90 degrees from that, from those three aspects of the third dimension. Now, let me just also say, when I say third dimension, fourth dimension, I've heard some wonderful readers talk about, they, instead of calling it dimension, they call it density, and that makes total sense. As our vibrations rise, as something gets higher and higher in vibration, it becomes less and less solid. So that makes sense to me. And people talk about the fifth dimension and all these different things. Just remember, all these things are labels. So don't get too hung up on, well, she said the fourth dimension and she said the fifth dimension and blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? Just kind of, like I said, just don't get hung up on that, and just think that through, and feel it through too. Okay, so I'm going to put you on pause for a minute. Oh, yeah, no, I did that. I'm going to put you on pause for a minute, and then we'll look at the key in more detail. Okay, so here we are, and I think I've got everything in focus, and I won't fool with it too much, hopefully. Here's our Rider-Waite-Smith judgment card and the BOTA, and we're going to talk about the High Priestess here in a minute, but I thought I'd just start out with her there, and of course that's me. Okay, so the Hebrew letter for this key is Shin, and it means tooth, or like a serpent's fang, and you can see there's 3 teeth there. And that can also refer to the teeth is what we use to break down the three-dimensional food that we put into our body to pull the essence out of that food. So we can also think about that the serpent can kill the false personality, and also just, kills that sense of separation from spirit. Now, we've got red here. That's for this particular key. This is the Pluto key. So red is, the note for red is C natural, but also remember that red was also the color for the tower, which is key 16, the Mars key, that and Pluto is the higher octave of Mars, and Mars also rules the Emperor, which is also the color red. So we're kind of seeing some patterns here in our coding, our color coding of the keys and such. Now for our numerologist, here's this, reduces down to 2, and that's why we have the High Priestess. And this is a very watery card. I mean, Pluto itself is a very watery planet. It rules Scorpio, which is a water sign also. But it's as you can see, all the water in this card, but it's also just really fun to look at. All the water in all these keys starts with the High Priestess, so it's kind of fun to take all the water keys out of the major arcana and see how they flow through the whole grouping there. Now, one of the first things we notice is that the people are gray, their skin is gray. And remember, which is, people turn gray when they're dead. But we can also see this as, when we put the two color opposites together, so like red and green would make the color gray. And gray also stands for wisdom, gray-haired people, that kind of thing. And what it's really, if we really look even deeper, what this is also telling us is that these people aren't on the physical plane anymore. They've transcended that. They've popped up out of these coffins, like we were saying before. They have this, you can almost look at this key as a snapshot of the fourth dimension. And as I said, they're standing perpendicular to that length, width, and breadth. And fourth dimension is time, where we can start living just in the now and not be so focused on time and such. And as we've talked about before, the male figure here is self-consciousness, and he's in a very passive state in both keys. The woman is subconsciousness, and she has her outstretched arms. And then the child in this particular key is referring to the regenerated personality. It's who we are once we have popped up out of these coffins and done away with the old personality. And his arms are wide open. He wants to get the whole enlightenment here from the Archangel Gabriel. Now, something else to look at, it's a little clearer in the BOTA deck, but that the woman is kind of looks like a L, the child is a V, and then the man is has an X over his heart, and that's LVX, and that's the Latin for light. So even when we think about, you've heard of the ruins of Luxor in Egypt, that's the city of lights and things like that. So that LVX is another symbol of bringing the light into our consciousness. Now there are 7 lines coming from the trumpet, and I kind of like the BOT one where it's going right over the child, because it really shows how this regenerated personality wants all this enlightenment, is just ready for it and is ready to go. So so that's just my personal preference there. The coffins are floating in the water here. And again, that's our high priestess here. And Gabriel is the archangel for water. And she's got he has a blue robes on. The flag is a symbol for Mars. And remember, as I mentioned, Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. And 5 is kind of the special number for Mars. And if we were to divide this flag up into 5 squares this way and 5 squares that way, what we would have of 5 by 5 squares, but if we counted up the ones that are red, we'd have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 9 is a number of completion, and the 5 by 5 is a number for adaptation. So what this is referring to is we've completed at least one level, one form, one aspect of adaptation in life, and we have completed some level of understanding. Now in the background here we've got these snowy, icy mountains, and again that's water, but now it's in physical, it's in a 3D hard form. And what that's representing is abstract thought, but that's in the background. That's what's led us here. Now the child actually has its back to us, the viewers, and he's facing the angel, facing the source energy. So it's kind of like, and I think I mentioned this earlier about stepping into the cards during meditation. So that's a neat thing to do, is actually step in, become the child, feel yourself stepping into that coffin and maybe even stepping out again. Another thing that this is the figures are expressing to us is that our personal existence is the manifestation of the relationship between self and subconsciousness. Now, it's come a long way. If you look at all these, the lovers, the sun card, when we're seeing these, the male and female interaction, we're starting to see how it's becoming more and more, it's easier, I should say easier and easier to relate that these two are communicating here. And I should also say, way back when I first talked about Key 2 and the High Priestess, I mentioned about unconsciousness and subconsciousness and how I was going to kind of use them interchangeably, because things that are unconscious we're unaware of. They're unconscious. We don't know it. And subconsciousness kind of meant the same thing, but now that's not true anymore. Now we are aware of the subconsciousness and the self-consciousness. Or if you remember back to the Sun Key, where the female, the subconscious, is actually looking at the self-consciousness, and the lovers were the exact opposite of that. So from now on, we're going to be saying subconsciousness, and we're going to forget about unconsciousness. So just remember that all three of these characters, sub, self, and the regenerated personalities, are all part of source energy. We aren't separate from the universal consciousness. We are, or we can think of it as we're an extension of that universal consciousness. Like I've mentioned before, seeing through our eyes, feeling through our touch, is how universal consciousness gets to experience this beautiful planet. So whether you know it or not, or you admit it or not, your personality is just part of source energy, and it's working itself out to higher levels. So in Key 20, one of the things that we need to really think about is that we are experiencing the fourth dimension now. And we are starting to see how the fourth dimension might actually be responding to our programming and that kind of thing, and how it is showing up in the 3D world. I don't know if you're hearing that harp playing, but it is, and distracted me there for a minute. So I'm going to put you on pause and turn that harp off. Sorry about that, but I don't know if you guys could hear that or not, but I did want to just show just a couple of more cards here at the end. And this is, again, that old Renaissance deck from the Marseille deck. And you can see there's a lot of symbols that have come through to today, but a lot of the same ideas of coming up out of the coffins and Gabriel's horn. And then finally, this beautiful card from the Gilded Tarot. You can see the Gabriel and his horn are singing its song to us, or maybe that was that harp playing. And you can kind of see some figures in the background here too, but much more of a sense of regeneration, rebirth, and that type of thing. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers the judgment card for now. So just remember, from there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere. Bye! See you next time. And we'll do Key 21, the last one. Amazing, huh?